You know, tomorrow will mark the birthday of Dr. or Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, just talking about things in general. And he was saying, well, you should probably do something for him. I said, I'll probably take some real time and dedicate to putting out a message about him and how what his struggle, his contributions to society in general, and what everything he stood for means to somebody like me. Dr. King died roughly a month after I was born. I was born on March 5th, 1968. He passed on April 4th, 1968. And when I say passed, it wasn't through natural causes, as we all know. It was at the hands of a very uncivilized individual, and for reasons that had little or nothing to do with um, anything that Dr. King was doing improper. One of the things that I think gets kind of lost is that Dr. King didn't have a black people's campaign. He had a poor people's campaign. And his efforts to bring about cohesiveness for what would be considered the less of these or the least of these is what motivated his entire movement. And so sometimes I hear people say so many bad things or negative things. I'm even talking about young black folks who say things, "Oh, that marching didn't matter. All that didn't get us anywhere." Well, you don't know what it's like not to have what you have. The ability to even be on a platform like this. Dr. King didn't have the benefit of technology. He was in an archaic. His means was archaic by today's standard, to say the least. He was maligned. He was maligned by people um, during his time, even people who exalt him today, who benefit from his struggles. You know, I almost, I don't even know if they even still have that program called Eyes on the Prize, and I would think everybody should probably go back and look at Eyes on the Prize and see what people, black folks, went through before Dr. King and many others, and Medgar Evers. There's a host of others, Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, before they put in an effort to move the uh, the community forward. So now we have people here who want to minimize Dr. King's efforts in the efforts of many what I would consider forerunners, people whose shoulders I stand on. You know, I you know, I think that people lose sight of the fact that one, Dr. King was a highly educated man. And beyond being highly educated, he was highly motivated because he had a vision to see things uh, with an understanding that he may not even see the journey through to fruition, which we know he didn't. And it's ironic that his last speech kind of was a foretelling of him understanding what the consequences of his upsetting the apple cart would bring. So I think it is utterly disrespectful for people who don't understand and have never taken the time to delve into what life was like, 60 or 70 years ago when they speak about him. Keep in mind now, like I was telling you, he passed a month after I was born in 1968. I'll be 58 if I live to March 5th of this year. I am 19 years older right now than Dr. King lived to be. You think about it. If we talk about the sports world, Tom Brady is today older than what Dr. King lived to be. So when we're analyzing him or critiquing him, you're critiquing him while he was going through a struggle that most people today have no idea about. At one time it was the law in this country that black folks and white folks in certain parts of the country didn't eat together, couldn't eat together. That was the law. It was the law that in the South, if a white man was walking on the sidewalk and you were on the sidewalk, you'd have to get off. There was a law you couldn't go to the same swimming pools. There's the litany of things that you don't, that many of us don't think about, we take for granted. Somebody else's sweat equity, blood equity went into getting us where we are. And so when we want to be critical of the struggles that brought us to where we are today, be respectful enough to at least consider um, what was um, sacrificed to get here. We're talking about water hoses. We're talking about people dying. We're talking about people who didn't have the right to do what some of us take for granted and even through apathy don't even participate in, the right to vote. You know, Dr. King passed, even though the Civil Rights Act of 64 was passed in 64, well, it takes time for things to take hold. He didn't get to see it through to fruition. And Malcolm passed well before that. So again, I want us to step back and I wanted to say how much, happy birthday, heavenly birthday to Dr. King. He's an ancestor now, and how much I appreciate him because my fight is because he and others like him sacrificed so that one day I wouldn't take what he had to endure. Because he's a much better than me, man than me. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. There's no way on this planet that I have the capacity to allow somebody to accost me and go through some of the things that he did. I'm not built that way. So he's a much better man than me. That being said, tomorrow, January 15th, is his birthday. I appreciate what he stood for, what he tried to get done for people outside of himself. And I would like to hope that one day we will appreciate again the sacrifices and accomplishments of Dr. King. That being said, is always important. Sometimes it's not about right or wrong. More importantly, it's about clarity. You never reach resolution if you're not willing to engage in honest dialogue, even if that dialogue is with yourself. Take time to hug the person you love and love the person you hug.